Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, thanks.
I see Joy and Rolf online. Corey, just FYI, Nate texted saying he's running a few minutes late and not to wait for him. And I did hear from Pamela that she's not able to join us. So is that everybody? Sorry, I gotta download the latest packet here. Let's join virtually. 10 dozen minutes. View today. I've got the wrong one here. Something's not working. Okay, got the agenda. Download the packet. Good afternoon. You guys can sit back there if you want. We're here for the mobility and parking board.
Yep.
Yep.
We need no.
Gee, really wanted to, we could maybe discuss it, but the general approach is that you'd sit right where you are. So thank you very much for that. Okay. Great. Okay, 5:02. I am calling the March 25th, 2026 Manitou Springs Mobility and Parking Board regular meeting to order. Nope, the agenda's up here. I don't think we've got any printed out. I assume you might be here for public comment? Or maybe? I'm sorry, I don't think we have agendas printed. We're looking at the one that's online. Great. Okay, so my name is Corey Satella. I am the chair of the Mobility and Parking Board. This meeting is now in order and I'm going to call the roll and I'm going to start online. So Joy Porter,
Here.
Rolf Jacobson,
Here.
and I just realized I don't see Bill Kerner online there. I haven't heard from Bill. Okay. Pamela Smith is excused. She let me know she couldn't join. And here we have Luke Prince.
Here.
Stang.
Present.
And I know we've got staff as Felipe and James. So we will jump into the approval of the agenda. And I will just say, I think in future, we may structure the agenda a little bit differently. But for what we've got today, I would love to entertain a motion to approve the agenda as it's written.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agenda as published on the city website.
I second that.
Test. How's that working? Okay. And as we move in, it's 5:05. The record could show that our council liaison has joined us. Hi, Nate. Thanks for being here. So we've got a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay.
Did I get a second? Luke seconded. Any discussion about the agenda? Hearing none, please indicate your approval of the agenda by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That passes unanimously. Next, we have the approval of the February 2026 MAP minutes. And Carl, am I right? Did you prepare these minutes? You didn't. That was James. Okay. Thank you for doing that, James. I would be ready for a motion unless there's any discussion about the minutes.
I motion to approve the February 26 minutes.
Thank you, Luke.
I'll second that, Corey.
Thank you, Carl. So unless there's some discussion, we will vote on the minutes. All in favor of approving the minutes, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Joy, are you there? I'm not seeing you on the screen right now.
Aye. I'm
Oh,
there
got it. Yep, there you are.
on the corner.
Yep. We somehow it flipped, but I can see you now. Thank you very much. The chair
Okay.
votes aye, so that passes unanimously. Next, we have the public comment on non-agenda items. This is the moment that we invite the public to comment on things that are not on the agenda. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes, please, and start by sharing your name and address. Are there any public comments? Okay, great. And James, there's no one else online? Okay. Well, I'll just say we always welcome public comment and public engagement here, and we believe in the strength of diversity of voices and opinions. So public is always welcome to comment. Next up, City Council Liaison. Nate, are you ready for this? Come on up.
Sure. Always a pleasure to be here. Nate Nassif, City Council, Ward 1. And I have a few notes. I'll just go through them. First, and very importantly, the council put in a formal proclamation to recognize Women's History Month. And so huge, gigantic applause for all the amazing women. Two, it's kind of a crown jewel of our city, I think, are our match grants. And there is a pool of $420,000 allocated this year, I believe, to 41 applicants. And I would call out, there was one very notable applicant around the new reimagined St. Andrews Community Center, which is very exciting. But all of the applications and events planned that were awarded are quite remarkable. So kudos to all the applicants that were awarded there. And again, that pool was about 420,000. And given some of the budgetary pressures, some of the applicant awards were not as large this year. Big picture overall, I think all of you are very, very up to speed on this, but there's a big push around community engagement to help support and inform and understand budget priorities. And to that end, there was a very successful Budget 101 meeting. I don't know if anyone around this table were there, but there was very positive and constructive feedback on that. So that was part one. Part two is it's in draft right now, which is a formal survey, a resident survey to encourage and solicit feedback from all of us in the community around how we think about prioritizing different budget items. And on the third point on that is that City Council will be having a budget retreat on April 7th. And then the idea is that we'll have some in-person community engagement, I think, in City Hall. You can take all the surveys in the world, but it's nice to get everybody in the room to be able to share ideas. Soda Springs Park Phase 3 directional plan was approved, so city staff can now go and seek out grant funding to help support that. The plans look great. There were some really creative ideas around potential adjustments and stuff, but if funding comes through, that could be a really neat enhancement. Bill Bauer open space survey results. I know that's something very near and dear to this board, so I'm sure everyone is ramped up there. I think the broad directional sentiment coming from the survey was quite positive to move forward. There hasn't been a formal, OSEC hasn't formally presented to City Council yet. That'll be on agenda soon. And then to close, Chair Corey, I would just give a huge shout out to the incredible Manny Awards reception and potluck here, and a special shout out to a Manny Award winner who is the chair of this board. So many, many kudos to you. That's it from council. Any questions, thoughts?
Any questions or comments from the board on that? I'll say thank you very much for all that information. Really excited about Bill Bowers. You're right. That is one thing that we did take a position on, and we're excited to hear about the prospects of a safe multi-use trail through there. And thanks for the shout out for the Manny Awards. It is a result of a lot of wonderful people and neighbors that support me being able to be involved, that resulted in that. So I'm grateful to be part of this community and thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we'll jump right into staff presentations. James, do you want to jump into some of the regular reports?
All right, so starting at the top here, we've got our Pike Ride report for the month of February. We had a solid jump up from our previous years. A lot of that is we do have more stations than we did back in those years. But it is still good to see an overall trend of growth across the years. So looking good on that front. This is kind of the total ride breakdown across the last few years. And then we've got the more detailed breakdowns as far as zone specific.
James, are you in touch with Pike Ride? I know for a while they had a lot of their stations closed in Old Colorado City. Do you happen to know, are those still closed?
I haven't heard anything new on that front.
Okay.
I'd have to follow up on that. But I do recall hearing that, but I do remember seeing that some of their stations appeared to be still operational, specifically in like Old Colorado City. But I don't know about the status in downtown Colorado Springs.
Okay, well, I'll just say it looks great. February doubled from last year and I'm really pleased to see the expansion of Pike Ride. Carl.
So just for clarification, James, so the Hiawatha Garden Station is closed because of the construction that got moved, correct?
Correct, and that's some of the information that you're seeing here. I didn't want to shift the data points here, so currently the station has more or less been redirected to the duck stop. So the bike racks that are in front of the duck stop are being used as a pickup and drop off point for those. Any other questions on Pike Ride? All right. Next, we have Mountain Metro. Let me see if I can hide this right now. There we go. So again, our kind of overall line item data for each route, as well as totals overall. And then I do also have the charts. Route 3, it looks like there is a little bit of a decrease in usage there. For the 33, we're trending about the same. Looks like it might be a little lower compared to the last couple of years, but I do anticipate that to pick up.
Go ahead, Carl.
And James, just to clarify again, so Route 3 will be subsidized fare starting the 29th, correct? So just a couple of days away.
Correct.
So we should see a jump in ridership.
And with that, the Route 33, they will be adding that additional bus to try to cut down on some of those lead times. So that should be an improvement as well. Any question?
Go ahead, Luke.
I would like to just go on record again. I'd like to go on record again, asking for more bus stops for Route 33 as they head from the Dillon Mobility Hub to the Incline, making sure that our downtown business district is serviced by Route 33 bus. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Luke. I recall we talked about that at the last meeting and we were trying to figure out when is the right cadence for us to start brainstorming about any changes we want to propose to Mountain Metro. And that's coming up, I think, right? Felipe.
Yes, Felipe Lopez, Director of Mobility and Parking. Yeah, so great question, great comments. I'd like to extend an invitation to everybody on this group to attend our monthly meeting or weekly meeting on Fridays with the Metro. The extension is for everybody that would like to just listen in, or if there's a field visit like there once was, that anybody's welcome to come. Metro will have a presentation here on the 16th, I believe, of April, along with the parking presentation with City Council. So
April 16th at council.
yes, it's the Tuesday of that week, I believe, is the 16th.
Are they coming to map first and then council, or straight to council?
Straight to council. And that's just to give a report to council basically and talk about those additional spots and what the challenges are with those. So, because we have requested them.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions regarding Mountain Metro? Okay, we'll move on to our Cyclic Fix report. So like previous, I did screen through the different requests for different departments and kind of pulled out the most pertinent. So one issue, and this has been a repeat issue, so we've placed a little bit more emphasis on the area. I mean, we've just increased patrols through the area, and I've made sure that our ambassadors are keeping an eye on the area to try to help curb the behavior. Because what's happening is there's a resident in the area that is parking. It is partially their driveway, but they're parking on the sidewalk and obstructing the sidewalk. So that's one issue that's been coming up there. We also received a request for a pedestrian detour due to the Hiawatha sidewalk closure. And that was created kind of crossing over and then along the other side of the street. We kind of closed the parking and was using that as kind of a temporary pedestrian walkway. And then finally, we received a complaint regarding pay to park signage, damaged signage. And of course, we were able to get those replaced quickly and alleviate the issues that were ongoing there. Any questions, C-Click Fix? And then new addition for this month, I did just provide some data on our call logs. We do keep a detailed log at the office as far as how many people we're helping in the office and how many calls we're receiving. And over the last month, we did field 428 calls and visitors. And the top issues or questions that were addressed during those interactions, we had quite a large uptake on questions regarding the Route 33 bus. Usually just where to get the shuttle, how long it takes for the shuttle to circulate, those types of things. So just basic route questions. We've also been, we've started doing courtesy notices and people are responding to those. And so that is a good sign that even with the courtesy notices, people are still addressing those and even paying for the time that they've used, even though we're not directly finding them at this point. So it's been encouraging the amount of response that we've been receiving for those courtesy notices. And then finally, just normal parking permit, resident credit hour questions, where to go, how to get them, that sort of thing.
Felipe.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to the courtesy notice questions and appeals. So on our next meeting, we hope to bring some statistics for that on payment and average payment back, and just what percentage of the people that are being, served these notices are actually like coming back and paying them, say 70, 80% or whatever happens to be that month. And then bring a little bit more of what the process entails, as far as like from courtesy notice to citation to to collections. So that way everybody's aware of what our process is. So.
Thank you for that. I'm excited about that. I think sometimes the public doesn't see or understand the impact of that and the work that we're doing to try to make people feel welcome and to work with people. If it's not just like, boom, you get this expensive ticket, but there's a way that we can work with you to try to encourage compliance. And I think that'll be really good information for us to have.
Yeah, and I think the public is receiving this very well. I think it's safe to say that about 70% of the people that receive these pay within 24 hours. So, and that's without even putting a bullet on the pistol. So.
Great. I did have a question about the bus info and the permit questions. Do you how to word this? Do you feel you've got the right support so that that information is available online, or should we be advocating for more resources to try to improve information on the website? Or is it there and people just aren't using it? Just wondering if that, if that becomes a burden, is there a way to streamline people getting that information? Did you want to take that?
The bus information, you mean?
Well, I think both bus information and the parking permit
Sure.
ones, unless the answer could be different.
Yeah, so we have a new website that we rolled out, and so comment is appreciated and welcomed. We are trying to make ourselves a little more visible. I for one have handed information on Route 33 and 3 to businesses here in town personally. I did ask the Metro Board to please print some more for us so we can have in our location and that kind of thing. So, because it does come up. But any ideas or any further visibility are welcomed.
Go ahead, Carl.
So two things. So one on the Route 33, isn't there information posted at the Dillon Mobility Hub for them to like read?
Yes.
And so they're just walking past into the office and asking questions
Yes, and we have-
nonetheless? Okay,
Yeah, we have those printouts for them. So yeah.
all right.
And
So
I would,
maybe they're sitting there waiting for the bus and they just want to talk to somebody, so they come in.
yeah,
know what
and I
time it
could
is sometimes.
kind of explain the interactions a little bit. So, a lot of it is like people wait there for 5-10 minutes and they'll get concerned, specifically if it's like the Cog Railway where they've got kind of a time they need to be there. Then after 5-10 minutes or so, they start to get nervous and they'll come in and ask kind of when the next bus or when we think the next bus will be around, that type of thing. The other side of it is it's usually people are just planning, trying to get a feel of what they're going to need to do for a day of. And I suspect a lot of these people are Cog Railway users, because those are folks that they do have kind of a time that they need to be there. So that's what it seems to be, is just making sure that they're going to be able to get up there and catch their train on time.
Has the COG communicated with their guests via their text communications and email communications prior to the trains about the Dillon Mobility Hub?
That is a good question. That might be something worth following up on.
Might I suggest, and I don't want to add a task to anybody, but having them do that. I mean, we don't want cars going through town and going up Ruxton. I would love to see the COG encouraging folks to not drive through town. And if we can get them on board with communicating the using Dillon Mobility Hub and helping that communication pipeline, the COG Railway has the ability to text all their customers and email all their customers. So something to consider.
Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely follow up on that, because that's any time we can have an opportunity to direct people to the right place, that's what we want to do.
Is that something your team could take on, do you think, Felipe?
With the right contact, I don't see why not. I can probably reach out to them.
Okay. Let's do this. If you have trouble finding the right contact, I bet there's some help we can provide. So Luke knows those guys.
Thank you, Luke.
Carl?
So this is probably more operational, but this slide immediately begs the question to me of, what's the distribution across these three? And then, is there kind of like, what's the average response time? more kind of a contact center thing, but like I would assume the bus information is a very short interaction. Whereas courtesy notices and parking permits are probably much longer discussions, but just, hey, this is like approximately 15 calls or in-office visits per day, and how much time is that taking? It just, these 3 bullets start to lead to more questions. And again, that's more operational and probably not appropriate for this board, but I just have to ask that because I'm a data guy.
Sure, and that's what I was mentioning. That's a good question. Just bringing some of the KPIs would definitely help visualize what's happening with the courtesy notices and the time spent and things of that nature. So we can certainly, while we wouldn't be able to predict exactly like 15 minutes for this or 10 minutes for that, we can definitely say what percentage of our time is being spent on these things, on average.
I would say if you're already collecting that data, we'd probably be interested because we're data nerds. But I wouldn't think we want to request an additional action if that's not already tracked. But probably what you are tracking is how many are in person versus on the phone, how many for each of those different things. And you might also know, although maybe you wouldn't know this, how many are residents versus visitors.
Sure. We do have that information. Happy to provide it.
Okay, we'll look forward to learning more next month.
Okay.
or in the coming months.
And I can definitely break out have that breakdown. I wasn't sure what the appropriate format would be. I wanted to try to keep it concise, but it'd be easy enough to break that out if that's of interest. Cause I do keep I keep count of them separate anyways. I just try to short form it all, and so it's just easy to digest,
If it's no more work, I'd like to see it. I think, we always want to focus on what are actionable things that this board can do, right? So I don't know what action that might drive, but if it's not a whole lot of extra work, it might spark some ideas and some discussion. So, yeah, if you don't mind and it's no more work, James, then I think that would be a good addition.
I mean, I think it's helpful just from the, from the outside, some people might have the perception of, oh, hey, there's all this parking staff and what are they doing all day? And if you're like, hey, we're getting 15 contacts a day and it's 45 minutes a piece or whatever, whatever the number is,
Yep.
just making stuff up. I mean, that's, hey, we're responding to resident and visitor requests, and it just helps people understand how resources are being used. So I think it's good if it's easily available.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for that.
Any other questions regarding call logs? Okay. So we'll move on to our infrastructure updates.
And James, just before we jump into these, so these are 3 items here. And I'm not quite clear what action might be requested from this board.
Yeah,
And
so
this is something that we can get better at over time. But yeah, I was hoping from a high level, if you can let us know which of these might be considered administrative, which ones, and therefore just informational versus things that you might want some feedback about.
yeah, so all 3 of them are things that we're actively seeking feedback on. They're things that have come up quickly as on the back of some various complaints that we've gotten. And so a lot of these things, even if it's not necessarily influencing the direct decisions or what's going to be happening on a base level, there are other considerations we'd like the board to weigh in on. For example, we'll start with the Cannon Avenue fire access. So essentially what the idea is that from Washington Avenue to Park Avenue, the intersection there, we would eliminate the Cliff House side parking spaces. And when we do that, it does open up opportunities for things like potentially a bike lane. And when we open that space up, brainstorming ideas on how it can be utilized for purposes other than parking. And I think those are the types of things we're hoping the board would weigh in on and maybe provide some suggestions.
Go ahead, Carl.
Mr. Chair. So just to clarify, this fire access request, this came from the Manitou Springs Police Department, so from the fire chief?
Yes.
So it wasn't just anybody, right? It's,
No, this was from the fire department.
Thank you.
And we've got a couple of issues, of a similar vein. So the other part of this is Lower Ruxton, right there by the trading post, that last space on the end there. We've gotten 3 separate complaints. So, the fire department, Mountain Metro bus driver, and then, I believe the third one was fairly recent.
Yeah, and it's for 3 parking spaces as well. Based on the city engineer's letter after assessment and measurement, so.
I've got commentary on each one of these. What's the best way to go about?
But we're talking right, I think, so, yeah, right now, let's talk about the Ruxton Trading Post one. So as I understand it, there's 3 complaints and the proposal is to remove 3 parking spots. And I'm not quite sure what that means. The current configuration combined with a lane shift narrows the roadway. That's what's happening today. If we get rid of those 3 parking spots, it will widen the roadway.
Correct.
Okay. I think I understand. Go ahead, Luke.
I was on a Metro 33 bus a few years ago and they hit a car that was parked in that final spot. So I think that taking away that last spot, at least that last spot would be great. So that's my commentary on that one.
Carl, did you want to comment on that one?
so I'll comment on that one in general. For me, I think safety needs to be our #1 priority. And so when the fire chief comes with a safety request, I think we should take that very seriously. And I think that benefits not only the fire department, but also, residents and visitors, like specifically that Ruxton space, riding your bike through there. It's pretty tight and cars maybe don't want to cross the yellow line and give you sufficient space. So trying to make more space for all of the various users of the public right away, I think is a positive thing.
James, can you check and just see if we still have Rolf and Joy and if they've got any comment on this one?
I'm still here.
Joy, did you want to comment on the Ruxton Trading Post proposal?
I've always seen those 3 parking, a lot of times in the past when I did the incline, they used to have passes on them. And there were people doing the incline and they used the passes from local people. I also think the road is degraded right against that cement block wall. So I think to get fire trucks up there quickly, we need to accommodate the fire chief and to have those 3 changed. Certainly, I would support it also.
Okay.
I've not looked at the situation on the ground, so I prefer not to comment on that.
Okay, thanks, Rolf. Well, I guess I'm gonna kind of echo what Carl said. It would seem to me very unusual if we would not support a recommendation that came primarily through the fire department and is supported by staff as a proposal. So I don't know if we need a formal vote on this one or not, but to me, it seems sensible. Felipe, did you want to comment?
Yeah, just one comment. So we did do due diligence measuring the spots and coming up with different solutions prior to engineer arriving to this one and, per the request. But one of them was to accommodate motorcycles there instead of vehicles and things of that nature, compact cars. So that was discussed internally as well. So we didn't go from A to Z. We've kind of moved through that and it's prohibitive based on the configuration of the road. So just wanted to mention that.
Okay, Carl?
Just one more clarification from my understanding. So the spots there, is that part of the RPP, those 3 spots, or is that paid parking?
It is currently paid parking at
Okay.
2-hour limits.
And it's just 1 space. Am I reading that? I've heard 3 spaces a few times. Where are the 3 spaces?
So it is 3 spaces. That is the request.
Oh, okay.
So.
Am I just not reading that?
Initially, we were at one,
Yes.
we were looking at the one space, but that has gone to 3.
Yeah, so we originally were looking at 1 space, and then when the engineer looked at it and the fire department looked at it, it turned into 3 spaces to be in compliance.
Okay, I think we're hearing broad board support, or at least no major objections there. Do we want to talk about the Cliff House one? It seems like sort of the same situation. We've had the request that came from the fire department, and this is therefore the recommendation from staff. I heard the magic words, we might be able to consider using some of that space for a bike lane, which makes me really excited. Any other comments or thoughts about that part of the proposal?
I just had a question.
Go ahead, Joy.
I assume that the Cliff House owner was contacted and those local neighbors.
Joey, not at this point.
Oh. So we're gonna surprise them?
No, we're not. We're just preliminary discussing first here.
Oh,
about
okay. I
spots
thought
there
you were
for-
pretty good at contacting the neighbors, so.
Yeah,
I heard that you
yeah,
have, so,
I'll contact Carol.
okay,
Once something a little more formal is upon us. We just seek for a little bit of, context here with the group.
okay, thank you.
That
Thank you.
particular location is, those parking spaces are very valuable for the guests and the residents in that area. So I think we need to tread very lightly on that move, eliminating even more parking on Canyon. So
And Rolf, the Cliff House itself has a parking structure, right? So it's probably
do.
more visitors and people that live around there would be the guess.
it's going to be the arcade people. Let's be honest.
the
It's the
arcade
people going up to the arcade there, and those are good, very good, useful spots to use on Canyon. So,
And how many spots are we talking about losing or removing? Do we know the number of spots that will be impacted?
Yeah, it's 8 of them, and we're working right now on pulling them up so you guys can see what the fire department sent to us, along with the pictures of the problem.
So yeah, the 8. That's definitely not something I would be interested in at all. I don't think most people would be either. So
Okay.
fire
so,
trucks do
yeah.
get by there now. So obviously their concern is to make it easier, and I understand why, but there's other considerations. That's a very congested area there with limited amount of parking. So that's a big change. Much bigger than the Upper Ruxton part. So that's why I didn't chime in on that one. But this one seems much bigger and right in the center of town, that we cannot afford to lose that many spaces.
Yeah, or at least without some engagement with some of the folks that will be impacted there. So I heard, there's the arcade is a major one, but there's a lot of businesses down there and there are some residents there. So in addition to speaking with the Cliff House, can we encourage a engagement with some of the other residents in that area?
Most notably be John Weiss, obviously. He's going to be affected the most.
Mhm.
Because the people parked there are going to walk over to the arcade.
Yeah, well, we'll see what John says. Yeah, go ahead, Carl.
So just a clarification, the spots that we're discussing here on Cannon are paid parking, right? Residents aren't parking there, correct? Am I misunderstanding?
That is correct.
So it's from a resident perspective, the impact might not be as large. Business wise, I get Ralph's point.
Yep. Okay. So what I'm hearing on that one is we'd like to hear a bit more about the outreach specifically to the businesses in there.
Well, I mean, yes, but also we can make assumptions saying that they're probably not going to dig it, right? I mean, I can walk with the assumption that no, John Weiss of the arcade probably wouldn't be okay taking away spots next to his arcade. So I think that for the sake of just reaching out to get commentary to come back, I mean, that's an unnecessary reverb loop.
I would disagree with that. If we're doing community engagement just to talk to people and then do what we decided already, it's not really engagement.
I agree with
Engagement
that,
means
yeah.
we listen, we try to compromise, we try to figure it out. But just to say, well, he's going to say no, I mean, and then not talk, I don't think that's a good process.
Yeah, I think, actually, I'm gonna say, I think both of those can be true. I think it's quite likely that there could be some pushback from the businesses there. And at the same time, they're there day in and day out, and they may have, you know, other ideas or suggestions or perspectives that would be worth hearing. So,
I think more so my point is to anticipate what those conversations would look like ahead of time. I don't ever want to say in any one case or the other that I know what somebody's gonna say, but the anticipation of anything helps set us up for a productive conversation.
yeah, fair point. So, James, you want to tell us what we're looking at here?
So these are just some of the images that the fire department had provided. Let's see, just pull these up.
That's cozy.
Yeah.
And that's assuming the vehicle's parked correctly.
Which little.
Yeah, we can't, obviously the one on the left isn't parked correctly, so that's not a fair picture. So people will park improperly, but
Yeah, so we have the two examples, parked improperly and properly.
And it looks like that was it.
And can I ask, did our engineering department have a chance to look at the cross section and
Yes, they concur with this.
their recommendation is that this is too narrow to have parking on both sides and provide reliable emergency access.
That's correct. And even if it doesn't happen right away, it's gonna be part of the, the grant access and all that stuff, so we can have the streets widths and then correct them. So even if it doesn't come right now, it'll come up for discussion later.
Okay.
And I do agree that awareness is important for everybody that's impacted, so.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say we'd like to see some engagement with those businesses, and we might anticipate that overall they wouldn't be wildly in favor. And we take that for what it's worth. Ultimately, I think this would be an administrative action if it's required for safety and supported by the engineering department. Any other comment on that one there on Kenyon?
I didn't go on record saying it, but I do support the elimination of those spots. And also, James, there was a picture in here that you had just pulled up, and it was right at the front of the looking down from the driver's seat of the fire truck. I had brought this up many years ago, but I think that another spot to consider eliminating would be the one right in front of the post mail drop box. It was the one right after that. And that way somebody can pull in and eliminating this spot right in front of this car. So somebody can pull in and drop off their mail. I think that would also be a good one to eliminate.
Looks like it's red right in front of the box, right?
But it used to not be that way. You can kind of pull in and swoop, drop your mail and keep on going. But when there's a car there, that really functions that to be pretty unuseful.
Yeah, we
Anyway.
can talk to the mail too. I mean, they're right in front of that too as well. So it'd be interesting to see their perspective on that. Maybe there's a relocation of that mailbox.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, back to that one. Good.
Okay, so that's the middle one. Do you want to talk about the first one, Upper Ruxton and Winter Street?
Yeah, so the idea with this one is we do have a good chunk of underutilized parking space near the top of Ruxton, kind of surrounding the Iron Spring Chateau and just below it. And we want to look at converting those 27 spaces to mixed use parking. So this would be opened up to paid parking. And one of the considerations is placing restrictions on it, so you can only park there during the day, similar to down on Manitou Avenue, where they can only park from 8 to 6. We would look to implement potentially something similar, just so that those spaces are resident only during peak resident usage times.
So just to clarify, James, right now, these are like RPP resident only, and the proposal is to allow paid parking during the day.
Yes, just to maximize the available space.
Okay. Luke, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I think it goes against what we've seen in the past here at the Mobility and Parking Board, in that we want to eliminate traffic up Ruxton, and the idea of having more paid parking created on top of Ruxton isn't working in that direction. However, if it's underutilized, what I don't want to do is have a carrot hanging directly in front of a tourist's face and say, you can't park here, right? I mean, so if it's underutilized and there's spaces that are available, and then all we do is ticket them all day because it's the open spot, I don't think that's the right thing to do. However, I think that there's a really good opportunity here to keep it resident only and then open it up to Manitou residents throughout all RPP spaces. So if somebody in Crystal Park, they don't have an RPP, but if a Manitou Springs resident wants to hike the incline, to know that they've got a special spot on the top of Ruxton, boy, that'd win over some good favor. I think that would be great. Or if I wanted to park it, anybody, any Manitou resident, park on top of Ruxton because you live here, gosh, you guys, that's an opportunity. I'd rather see that than turning it into paid parking. Has some logistics to think about, but it would win over a lot of goodwill.
Yeah,
Um,
no, and we hear that sentiment. We can certainly consider that along with the paid parking. So to devote that to, other RPPs, is that something that, could be considered as well?
CJ's got her hand up.
Yeah, the history of those spaces, it used to be parking, and before we came in with the paid, but it was really developed so the residents up there could have space for guests. And since most of the residents on that side have places where they park or that little parking lot, it's been underutilized. And it is, if we're going to be eliminating 11 other spaces that are paid parking, I think we have to look at the balancing the budget and see those places. I can't see all 27 for Manitou residents. Most of us, when we do the incline, hike up there or take the shuttle. In my opinion, I don't know if it's statistically proven, but I would be really hesitant about getting more traffic by having residents come up there and park and unpark. I mean, it defeats what the whole thing was. And so that was my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. James, do we have a picture of this area? Do I remember, was there a picture in the packet here?
Yes, we have a map prepared of all the spots in question.
Pretty sure that's the one just below the Pike Ride spot
Mhm.
on the other side of the street from the Chateau parking.
Yeah,
And
27
also
spot
along-
though, right?
And also along Winter Street, which
one?
I don't know that all adds up to 27.
While James is pulling that up, I'll just say I kind of the same thing jumped into my mind as what Luke said is like, what we're hoping to try to reduce is people cruising, looking for spots, especially on Ruxton. And my question is there a way we could manage those spots like we do a parking lot where we, you know, like maybe even you could book in and reserve it so that we would discourage people from cruising for the spots.
Yes, that is correct. We do have a reservation system coming in. We're going to start at Dillon with 10 spots, and we hope to amplify that so that would be reserved parking.
Okay. To me, that changes the math a lot is it's just, especially the cruising, like, oh, hey, there might be a spot, so I'm going to drive up Ruxton. Really don't like that direction. But if there were a way to expand available parking, you know, in that way, residents of Manitou could still use it. You know, there's, you know, it wouldn't necessarily be free for all the residents, but they could use their 50 hours or, you know, it would be open, but it would reduce the cruising for them. So,
And just to add to that, they would have to reserve as well, even if it's free for them.
yeah. So I'm looking at it here on my screen. So pilot knob.
It's page 22 and 23 in the packet.
So it would extend down to just below the top entrance of Pilot Knob there.
Which is the same area that we had a resident parking their vehicle on the street and then selling their spaces in front of their house and their driveway. And that became a big conversation piece. And now it seems as though, respectfully, you can't sell your spaces, but we're the city, so we can sell your spaces. I just don't like the optics of how that turns out for that resident who definitely had a difficult time with their camper van being parked on the street.
Yeah, I think we're possibly getting into a separate discussion there.
Might be a separate discussion, but it's the same people that it involves and impacts directly.
Okay, so we've had a chance to look at the maps here. Are those actual numbers of spots? Doesn't quite look like 27 between those two maps. Is it? Okay.
We were conservative.
Okay, so we've heard some mixed feedback on this one. This one is yeah, less an emergency requirement and therefore it does seem like something that the board could provide direction on. I've heard a range of opinions here. I guess I will also weigh in, considering that I live in this neighborhood also. I think I would be in favor of this proposal as long as it could be set up so that people have to reserve the spots so that it doesn't result in people cruising for spots up there. So the proposal is to change those spots to mixed use parking. I guess maybe what I'd like to do is get a straw poll or just take a little bit more formal pulse here. If I may, how many members of this board would support the proposal to convert those to mixed use parking as is? And the second option would be to maybe reconsider and to look at other options for those spots. I think those are the two options that I've heard. Yeah, let's go around the room here. Luke?
I am not in favor of opening this up to paid parking.
Okay, thank you. Carl?
I would support paid parking with reservations.
literally and metaphorically. And Joy, I think I heard your comment of support for this.
Well, my support is needing more information of what the reservations would look like and who would run it and who would monitor it and and how many parking places there are and is there a compromise on how many are paid and how many are not? So I would need more information before I would say I'm
Okay.
in support. I'm leaning more towards some kind of compromise, some kind of thing that works for the neighbors, works for traffic, and then also works for revenue for the city. Thank you.
Thanks, Joy. And Rolf, did you want to weigh in?
It's a very close call for me. Either leave it alone because we're not trying to encourage more cars up Rexton, and just let it sit with some empty spaces, but possibly mixed use would be okay. It's close for me.
And I guess thank you for that, Rolf. So I'm gonna say my preference is I'm generally leaning towards supporting this, but just like Joy and Carl have asked for, I would like to see a little bit more detail about exactly how they'd be managed, so that we can be sure that that we're not encouraging cruising for spots. And I wonder if this is an opportunity where we could maybe flyer the neighborhood, or have we talked to some of the neighbors that my guess is they might have concerns.
Yeah, so we're starting a pilot program on Dillon, and maybe on the next meeting, we can present how that's working.
Okay. Does that give you enough of a direction on this topic for now? Okay, thanks. Let's move on to the third one on that list, which I think was the Fields Park parking management updates. Install no overnight parking.
One more comment on that. And
Mhm.
if we needed to do a beta testing program and just say 5 spots on that and then open up the rest as they come, because we still need to prep some of the area as well to get more information. So, that's also a possibility. That way we don't incur on that on the side that most people were selling things. But, start basically on the 5 spots that are over by the bikes, do those ones and do maybe a beta testing program there. And that will have more information instead of some speculative of what happens here and there. And then we have control of that. So that's also a possibility.
Yeah, I like that idea of stepping into it with some of them. Don't do it all at once, but step into it with a few. Carl?
So I strongly encourage staff running a pilot program and collecting real data versus us sitting here and speculating. I think that's the next one approach. Fully support that.
Seeing some heads nodding here. Okay, that's some direction for staff on that. So let's hear about Fields Park. There are complaints about long-term parking, oversized vehicles, and overnight camping.
Yes, so it's a few things. We've gotten a lot of complaints about oversized vehicles taking up multiple spots. And oftentimes they are RVs and stuff like that. So there's concerns about overnight camping as well. So we do want to put up signage, just to make it clear that's not what this parking is for. The second part of this is implementing, potentially implementing a 2-hour parking limit so that we do encourage turnover, for those parking spaces. And part of this is we do anticipate that area being more heavily utilized for specifically the incline and the cog railway because it is free parking right now. And by implementing this time limit, it would detract from people using it for that purpose. So that's kind of what we're looking to do in this area.
Yeah, and I'll note that's also fairly close to the brand new Black Canyon open space. So we might expect interest in using that area to increase. And so I wonder, I mean, why wouldn't we consider that to be paid parking?
So it's something that we have proposed in the past. It generally wasn't well received. We did receive a lot of pushback on that, so we are holding off on that for now, but I'll let Felipe comment. on that.
So one of the reasons why is because we like this to be a pilot study of the usage of the area based on, what we have as far as parking lots. And so that 2-hour parking is not just a sign that says 2-hour parking and that's it. That 2-hour parking comes with a QR code, so you check in and out at 2 hours. So that way we track how many people are actually using this and what the statistical of it is. So it's to gather information more than anything, but also as a first defense deterrent rather than just going to paid parking right away.
Carl.
Sorry, two things. So one, first, a clarification on that, Felipe, if I may. So it's not going to be paid parking, it's just going to be a 2-hour limit. You check in, check out. And if you don't, you get a courtesy notice.
Correct.
Okay. So my thought on this is so in Crystal Hills, there's a large number of folks that aren't comfortable navigating Crystal Park Road outside of a car. And so historically, they go and park at Shriver and then use the trail and, ride in Colorado Springs or do whatever. And I know that is going away. And so and I also know neighbors that have shifted to the Fields Park area for that. And so my first instinct is for us not to take action until it's a problem, is my first thought.
We're
That
taking
would-
action because of it, because it is a problem.
So because there's people long-term parking there, but so obviously I go by their lot, and I have seen people that might be, they're living in vehicles parked along there. And to me, that's separate and distinct from someone trying to ride their bike on the Creek Walk Trail, right? And so do we know the long-term parking problem? Is it people are living in their vehicles, or is it people that are hiking the incline or whatever?
So we know that the long-term vehicle issue is, that exists, that's a problem. That's something we dealt with a lot, especially during the summertime when we have more people in town. We're anticipating that the incline and the cog railway use will be an issue in the area. But that will be dominated by those user groups. Because that same bus goes through there. It will be picked up that it's free parking and that it's available, and it will be used for that process.
Joy, I see you got your hand up.
Yeah, I think it is a problem with vehicles parking and people camping. I'm not sure where the unhoused are supposed to go. But Colorado Springs has been passing or has an ordinance where they won't be able to park. And so I think there will be an overflow of that. I live in the neighborhood. It's I'm up above, but still, I know it is a problem down there. It's also a park, and we want people to access our parks and have picnics and sit by the creek and all kinds of things. So I would be hesitant about paid parking. I'm not sure 2 hours is enough time to do some of the hiking, but certainly open to trying to come up with solutions. But, based on data that we have a lot of people from the COG or the incline parking there. So I would need more information on that too. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess, so what pops into my mind then is, so we're talking about installing signs that say no overnight parking and no RV or oversized. And I remember, I think it was a previous parking director that was actually wanting to encourage big vehicles to park over there. Do we have a vision for where people visiting that are in RVs should be going?
So we will still have the parking spaces along Manitou Avenue and the 300 block still designated for that purpose. So that's still very much a
okay.
place for them. But based off of the feedback we've received, there was initial ideas at looking at Fields Park as a potential additional place for larger vehicles. but based on the feedback that we've gotten, that's no longer a consideration.
I see. Okay, and yeah, as we expect, you know, we are expecting there's going to be more use because of the Black Canyon open space. So yeah, I don't know. This one's a little bit tricky, right? I think, Carl, oh, Rolf's got his hand up.
Yeah, I think we should definitely put the signs up. It's a great middle solution, actually. It's not overreacting at all, putting a sign up. It's still free. I think eventually we will have to start charging for that area also. But for the night, it's a perfect place for people to park. We don't want oversized vehicles there taking up multiple spaces. It's not our problem. So I never like it. I don't want it in any of the lots, especially that one at Fields Park. So I'm for putting that up there, putting a 2-hour parking limit to increase turnover.
And practical question, if we put up signs that say no overnight parking and no RV or oversized, do we have an ordinance that would back that up? We could ticket someone and we'd start with courtesy notices, but we have the ordinances that would back that up. So this is really signage to indicate our existing ordinance there. Okay, thank you. Carl.
So just one other question. So if we put 2-hour parking limit along El Paso by Fields Park, is that just going to push people into Mustang Field and park in front of the baseball diamond? And controls that? Are we just kind of squishing the balloon and the balloon's going to squirt out somewhere else?
But that's something we can potentially communicate. I believe the school district manages that lot. We do not. But that can be a topic of discussion for sure.
My comment on it is I agree with the no overnight parking, no oversized vehicles, but I think 2 hours is too short. Especially, I mean, I don't want to go into details, but I think 2 hours isn't enough time.
Okay. Go ahead, Felipe.
Just statistically speaking, for the last 3 years, 80 or 90% of people park no more than 2 hours in this town for everything they do. And we have that data as well.
80 or 90% park for longer than 2 hours?
Less than
For
2
less than,
hours,
I
yes.
see. Okay. Okay, so this would encourage the sort of median behavior of it, of the rest of town there. Okay, well, and go ahead.
One more thing. So because this is a trial and a 2-hour, it's basically courtesy notice. It's not to rain citations on people or anything like that. We'd like to know how the area behaves before doing anything drastic or anything. So this is to gather data, and it might take a whole season, a whole year to do this. So just so everybody's aware of that.
Okay. Well, it seems fairly straightforward to put up signs that indicate what our current ordinances are. So the no overnight and RV parking there seems like pretty easy thing for us to do. And then, yeah, I think I'm interested to see what happens with the, yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about the 2-hour limit or not.
Is there a time limit between the chamber and the duck stop on Main Avenue, on Manatee Ave?
Between the chamber and the duck stop, I don't believe there is currently. I do know the parking spaces just east of us are 2-hour.
So this isn't not a brand new concept.
No, we have currently 30 spaces between Sheldon and Adams that are 2-hour. And we will also put the QR codes there to monitor those areas in the future. And we'll bring it up.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think I'm hearing support for at least the initial signage and maybe a desire to, like you said, use it as a pilot, collect more information and get feedback from the public about how they're using it.
I'm just want to go on record saying I don't know that 2 hours is enough time to do anything. I know that that's what the stats show, but should be considerate of, also considering the fact that we're charging higher rates with progressive parking and they're just trying to boogie before they're charged more. I think that might be a little skewed. So in general, I want to be able, especially on the outskirts of town, such as east of the office there along Manitou Avenue and Sheldon's and Adams and Fields Park. I'd like to see somebody park down there, forget their vehicle, and then ride up into town, similar to what we're trying to encourage with the parking lot. To have a 2-hour limit rotating schedule on the edge of town, I just don't see it. But thank you. That's my commentary.
Thanks, Luke. Yeah, I mean, I will note there are some other places where there isn't a 2-hour limit, but it's not free. So, you know, nothing's perfect, but there are some options. Okay, does that seem like enough discussion on that one?
Yes.
Great. Okay, next up, am I right? Are we at Hiawatha updates? Is that next?
Yes, so Hiawatha updates. First and foremost, the EV charge stations are not available right now due to the construction. And as a result of that, we have waived the 12 cent per minute post charge fee to kind of help some of these residents that had relied on specifically the level 3 charger in that area.
So James, where will they use that?
So that's going to be at Shriver Park.
Okay,
So that's where we have our other bank of charge stations at the moment.
And is the post-charge fee, that's the idling fee, so that's after they've finished charging but they're still plugged in. So we've eliminated that fee after they're done charging.
Correct. So part of this was the concern that because they use this for their residents and they use these to charge their vehicles, since it takes longer and they have to leave it there, it's just less punishing to them if they aren't able to get back to their vehicle in time, because Shriver is further out from where they live. So and we had numerous folks that expressed this issue. So that's what we've done to more or less mitigate in the meantime. And then in addition to this, right around the time construction was starting, we did have a maintenance issue occur regarding that level 3 that didn't quite take it all the way out of service, but it did diminish the performance of the charger. And we had received a $10,000 quote to complete those necessary repairs, and the goal is to try to get those up and running when that lot is supposed to be reopened.
and do we have a time frame for the completion of construction and reopening the lot?
Felipe?
Yes, tentatively July 1st, and I believe we're on schedule.
Okay. I am gonna say I find this kind of fascinating. I don't have an electric vehicle. But it seems like we're getting into the business of managing electric vehicle charging, and this might be the kind of thing that we want to start tracking a little bit more so that we are able to make recommendations. What occurs to me about this is, you know, are we gonna have a bunch of cars taking up the spaces at Shriver that aren't charging and are therefore just kind of in the way because we've taken away this penalty for the post-charge fee? I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if there's a way to monitor people waiting or how long people leave their cars. I don't think we have the data today, but I think as we start to consider electric vehicle charging locations and opportunities more, we'll probably want to start getting into some more data analysis there. And Joy, just a second, Felipe is going to respond, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
just a comment on it. So I believe, and James, correct me if I'm wrong, we have the ability to provide a code for residents, or will be in the future for this, so that way we can be a little more attuned with those concerns. So also, the rate is 14 cents at night. It doesn't cover any repairs, and unfortunately, level 3 charger is out of warranty, so this is coming out of the city. So that's a conversation to have as to what the accurate charging schedule will be to be replacing these parts and things of that nature. So that's going to come later into the board.
Right, because this impacts the parking enterprise. So, yeah, this will impact the work of our staff here. Joy, go ahead, please.
I think if we're wanting to clean up the air in Manitou, encouraging vehicles, we have a station inside our garage because we have a garage, so we have a charger there. But a lot of people in Manitou don't have the ability to have those chargers inside their garages. And I think it's important that we encourage people with EVs. It's not getting into the EV business. It's really knowing that EVs are going to help our environment. And having had a EV now, they're not going away, and I think we need to accommodate them and make sure that our residents can find places to charge their cars. And we provide gas stations for gasoline, and I think that you pay for the gasoline, you pay for the electricity. So I think to say we're not going to do that is detriment to our residents who have no other choice. Thank you.
Thanks, Joy. I didn't hear anyone suggest we shouldn't do it. My comment was, I think it does represent a change. And I see there's a distinction. I mean, we or the city of Manitou doesn't provide gas stations. Those are privately operated and market driven. It does seem to me that we are trying to encourage electric vehicle use, and frankly, I support that. And just the question of, how do we do that? And, to Felipe's point, we've got a $10,000 repair bill, and we're not really making money on, that, we being the city. So, what are the impacts of that? And, generally, I will just wholeheartedly agree with you, Joy. I think this is a trend that we need to be ready for, and looking for ways that we can serve the residents of Manitou who want to use electric vehicles. So I find it very interesting, and we'll be watching this with interest. Any other comments on the Hiawatha updates? Go ahead, Carl.
Just one comment. So I feel like this waiving the post charge fee, and we need to collect data on this, obviously, but my sense is that residents are going to be going down in the evening, parking their car at Tribe or their EV, plugging it overnight, and then going and picking it up in the morning. So not paying the post charge is great. Whereas, visitors who have an EV are coming in the middle of the day. So my hope is that there won't be conflict between those two user groups.
And eventually, we might hope there is conflict, because there are so many EVs that there's demand for that, and it makes it easier for us to use data to make decisions when that happens. Okay, let's keep moving. Okay, downtown parking program. So this is a downtown parking beta program overview. And again, just as we get into this, what kind of action are we being asked for here tonight? Is this informational only? Are you asking for an endorsement? What are the next steps with what's planned here?
Yeah, just digest the information with us on this. We were requested, to come with some possible solutions for the residents and businesses, and this is part of that. So just input would be appreciated.
Can I ask something, Philippe?
Go ahead, Joy.
I received that the RPP changes, we got it about 5 o'clock yesterday. And it's very hard to go through it in good faith and really look at the details and figure it out when there's not really time to do that. So I read over it, of course, but I really need to sort of get into what it is. And perhaps it's better at the next meeting so we have time to do that. It just seems so quick, and I just felt like I wasn't getting enough information of the changes. I've been involved in the RPP almost when it started, so for many, many years, and there's a lot of tiny things that happen with the RPP that aren't tiny and that get neighbors upset, and so there's a lot to look at. And I just would say that if we get these kinds of downloads, if we could have an extra day or get it on a Friday, so we have time really to look at it. Usually
I-
it doesn't matter, but the RPP stuff is so detailed.
Yeah,
Thank
and thank you for that, Joy. I think, and so I think you're referring specifically to the voting item, which is coming a bit later. This is an informational one. It's not, it's more like the downtown parking program, but I think the comment is the same. And, I'll just say, if Felipe and I have had some conversations over the last couple days about this, and, I guess I'll take some responsibility for that. And I think it's my role as chair is to make sure that we've got the right information for our board, that we are able to digest and to have meaningful input. And I think we didn't quite achieve that this time. It's certainly high on my list as something that I'm committed to working to improve for next time, so that we're really clear. And, you know, our target is that we will have an agenda ready that it could go out on the Friday before the Wednesday. So we didn't meet the target on that one. And your comment is heard loud and clear and is an item for improvement for future.
And I wasn't really trying, Corey, to say improvement or criticizing you. It was just, for me, I just needed more time to read it and to digest it.
Yep, I
Thanks.
think that's very fair. And ultimately, as the chair of the board, it's my responsibility to make sure that we're operating that way. So my commitment to you is that we will try to improve on that. And I thank you for that feedback. Okay, let's dive into the this parking program. So this is a change that is being proposed by staff, and we're able to offer comments, but it's not required to make an endorsement. This is a proposed change that staff is moving ahead with. Who's going to present on this? James.
All right, so downtown parking program, so we've been tasked with providing better parking solutions for downtown residents and business employees. And so internally, we've kind of played with some ideas, and what we're bringing to the board today would be a 60 to 90-day pilot that would more or less replace the traditional permitting system that we have in place now. The system would be more restrictive, so the only people that would be eligible for these permits would be residents that live on Manitou Avenue that aren't eligible for an RPP currently. And then, of course, downtown employees. And we would limit how many passes are available for each lot at any given time. With this proposal, we would look to make half of the Cannon lot just normal paid parking, and then the other half, so the other 20 spaces would be reserved for residents or business employees. And then Prospect would more or less be used as an overflow. So if there's not parking available in the Cannon lot, which is generally kind of the closest parking for a lot of the folks that live down in that area, as well as people that work. So that's typically the more ideal place for them to park. But the Prospect lot would be available kind of as an overflow option as well. And we would more or less split the users in that lot as well. So you would only be able to have a maximum of 20 residents in that lot and a maximum of 20 employees. So taking a little bit more of an active approach in managing the parking that's available and limiting who is eligible to receive permits for these areas.
Let me clarify what I think I heard would be half residents and half employees of businesses
Correct.
in both of those lots.
Right.
No visitor parking in both of those lots.
So
Visitor parking would be more shifted onto streets.
So we would still have visitor parking in the Cannon. Half of the lot would be allocated for paid parking.
And that's why it's a beta program. So if the needs was more for residents and businesses to continue migrating that towards that end, that's why there's gap stops in there as well. So as demand, so if more people come out of the woods and say, hey, I need a permit, I need this, so we start moving in that direction. That's why. So it's to benefit the residents and the businesses, period. So.
Okay, and when is the proposal to start this pilot?
Do we have a firm?
No, we have not, we don't have a tentative start date. We want to present this to council on 16th. So,
Okay,
so there's plenty of time to, continue the conversation on it still.
do you have a listing of the kinds of data that you'll be collecting for the pilot? Or maybe I'll put it two ways. Do you have a listing of that tonight? And or will you have a listing of that when it comes to council? I'm thinking if I'm on council, that's what I'm gonna ask. What are we gonna measure through this pilot?
That is the plan. We don't have anything, as far as specifics on what we will be gathering tonight, but we will make sure we have that before council.
And if you don't mind, could I request that you send that out to this mobility and parking board before you go to council? Cause I think we'll be interested in that. And, I hope we're doing our job for council to encourage to get that lined up before that meeting. Joy, please go ahead.
I just had a question because I was a little confused. With the businesses downtown and the employees, do they park with the Metro? In other words, I know Metro has their parking lots. And do they let some of their employees park for free? Or is this something an additional? I was just confused about. I thought they had places for their employees.
They can come to Metro and purchase a yearly pass, which is
Okay,
$240 a year, same as the cities. So
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty wide open that they can buy a pass there.
so when we open up the 20 in the canyon, that's going to be good because you won't have to pay the 240.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Rolf, I do have a follow-up question. Are there any limitations on the permits that are available in those parking lots?
As of right now, they're not. Obviously, we probably sell more than we have spaces, and that's probably going to become bigger and bigger situation. But currently, we haven't restricted the number that we sell.
Okay, that's good to know. Just if we get to a point where we don't have availability, just so I have an option I can provide.
Yeah,
to
you
them.
can send them to us. We'll sell them. Not much requirements involved either. And that's good for the Shemishki lot and the Wichita lot both. So depending on what part of town you're at.
So I'm just gonna make the comment, and thank you for that, Rolf, and just for clarity for the record, Rolf is also involved with the Metro District, which operates some parking lots in town that are not today fully coordinated with the city of Manitou. And I think this discussion really illuminates the opportunity that we've got to improve that connection. So I actually had a chance to talk to Rolf earlier about the future and how we might better be able to work together with the Metro District so that some of this is smoother. Carl, did you want to comment?
Yeah, so I'd be curious, do we have numbers for like the number of residents downtown and the number of business or employees that have the existing passes and this capacity these lots, just to see that those numbers kind of coincide, or do we think that this will be oversubscribed?
So you're asking for data about businesses that are currently using the Metro District lots?
No, there's some existing employee parking pass, correct? So do we know how many of those are active that might transfer to these lots, along with the number of residents downtown, as well as the capacity based on the split that was described?
So we do have the standalone downtown employee permit. For the lot permit specifically, as far as what we have now, it is sold as just kind of like a multi-use permit. So currently we don't have a delineation of resident and business. We can get a ballpark just based off the address. But it's not always foolproof. And that's something we're seeking to improve upon, as far as data collection. But we do have, an idea on how many folks down there have permits currently. And we've got that information already.
Thank you, James. So I think that'd be real useful as we get ready to go to city council with this, is to understand the current usage and subscription. And then we can, start to look at what data we're able to collect with that. Carl?
And can we get clarification on the one active session per user and all these other things that are described up there? Because I can read it, but I don't know if I fully understand what is being tried to be conveyed.
Yes, so the way that the system would be set up is it would require active checking in and checking out of those lots. And checking out, not sure if we're going to take that approach or if the session will just be a set length. We're still working out those details. But essentially it requires actively notifying that I'm parking in this lot. And what we're hoping is that this will discourage the use of these parking lots as long-term storage. Because we have had some of those issues in the past, and current iterations, we notify, we put a notice on the vehicle, it moves, and then they more or less they are able to continue the behavior even just because they're moving around in the lot. And we don't wish for those lots to be used for long-term storage.
Okay.
So if I'm a resident who lives downtown and I own a motor vehicle, I mean, we're expecting them to leave every day to go to work or something and check back in the evening and not, because you hear a lot of downtown residents like, oh, hey, I park and I leave my vehicle because I don't want to lose my spot, proximity to my residence. And so it seems like we're going to try and discourage that with this.
Yeah, so we're encouraging more activity through the system that we're implementing. So there is a scarcity issue. There's not a lot of parking, and there's a lot of need for that parking. So in that context, we do believe that we have to take a more active approach in managing these spots.
So I guess let me make the suggestion that as we, as you guys are preparing to take this to council, maybe make that really clear. So that wasn't immediately obvious to me, but so one problem that we hope to solve is residents that live downtown and just leave their car parked there for a real long time. That's not what these lots are for. And we're trying to discourage that behavior. Yeah. Yep. Because if you live in downtown Tokyo, you also can't park your car for a long time for $240 a year.
And that's the kind of feedback we were looking for, just to, because we see it and we crafted, we like see parking, and so that's that kind of messaging is it will bridges the gap for communication. So thank you.
Great. I'm really interested in that. I might see if I can join the presentation at council. Any other comments or questions about this? Okay, let's move to the next agenda item. Are we at the RPP extension? No, we're not. Oh, let's see. We jumped over parking kiosks. Did you want to talk about parking kiosks?
Is there any way to do the voting first? I know we have some people in the audience, and I wonder if that's possible.
I would say yes, we could do that. And unless there's an objection, we could move forward with the discussion and the voting item on RPP. Didn't realize we got a bunch more stuff on here. Does anybody object to moving ahead with the RPP and the voting item?
No.
Hearing no objections. So this is a returning item. We had it, Joy, did you want to say something?
Oh, no, I just had a question when we get to that part.
Okay, great. Well, I'll just tee it up here. So this is a returning item. It did come to the board last month, and we recognized that we wanted a little bit more information and specifically wanted to hear about some public outreach, particularly to the people that live in the existing RPP that will be impacted if it's expanded. And Joy, if you want to maybe raise your hand or just jump in if it becomes the right moment for you to ask your question.
Well, I could ask one right before we get more information, because maybe it'll be covered. My question is this meaning that the people on Manitou Avenue will be able to park on the Ute Trail in Minnehaha area? Is that what this is about?
I'll answer in my understanding, and we could see if staff can address it. I think that the main need is the residents of Minnehaha and Ute have asked to be able to park on Manitou Ave in the RPP on Manitou Ave. I think that's the need that's driving this, and then it will therefore have an impact on people on Manitou Ave. But then, you know, if the RPP is expanded, then of course those people would, you know, will become one RPP, and the people on Manitou Ave could also park up on Ute and Minnehaha. Is that correct with the proposal, James?
So I do want to provide clarification. So the proposal first and foremost is for residents on Minnehaha and Ute Trail to have resident parking on those streets so that visitors are not able to park there. Currently it's open, it's unmanaged. When we do have larger events, people do tend to trickle up into those areas. In the past, Rainbow Falls was also a contributing factor, but with how they're managing that now, that has kind of diminished. But in addition to that, part of the current resident program is you also have to address overflow parking activity. So in its base state, the overflow parking is obviously Manitou Avenue for those streets. So in general, you want to consider surrounding streets, one, so you're not affecting them by the decisions that are being made. So we've eliminated parking on Manitou Avenue, so it kind of squeezes it to the other areas that don't have that same restriction. So when Manitou Avenue was originally implemented, these streets should have been considered during that time, and I don't believe they were. And so that's what we're seeking to improve upon here is we've identified that the overflow parking would be Manitou Avenue, and by including it into the Manitou Avenue RPP, we're generating more flexibility, more fluid behavior there. Obviously, people that live on Minnehaha and Ute Trail, they're going to park on Minnehaha and Ute Trail. I don't know anybody that wants to park further away from their house. But what this does is it gives the residents that area protection for their neighborhood itself, but also gives them the flexibility to use the nearby surrounding area that is close to their home.
Okay, so this would prevent visitor or sort of free-for-all parking on Ute and Minnehaha, which today exists. Anybody could just go park there. It would prevent that, and it would allow these residents to park in front of their house like they've been, and also down on Manitou Avenue.
Correct.
Okay, I think I understand it. Joy, does that answer your questions?
It does. Appreciate clarifying it. Have the people in the RPP and Manitou Avenue been contacted? I like the idea of protecting Minnehaha and up there because they need it. but I'm wondering what the residents from Manitou Avenue have thought about it.
Yeah, so we held a public outreach meeting on Monday. And we did have both Minnehaha and Manitou Avenue residents attend. And I would say the group of 5 or 6 people that did attend, they were in opposition. But there was discussion and ideas were exchanged. And there is opportunity for some compromise. One idea that did come up in that meeting was potentially turning the mixed-use parking that exists on Manitou Avenue now into resident parking only. And that might help alleviate the addition of additional parkers. So that's a consideration, and that was feedback that came up in that meeting. But we did create an opportunity for residents both on Manitou Avenue, Ute Trail, and Minnehaha to speak about their concerns.
And just on that, so was there sort of a mail out or an outreach to all the people that are in the existing RPP on Manitou Ave?
Yeah, so we put out public notices in the neighborhoods themselves. We hung notices throughout both neighborhoods. And then we also did put information out online through our PIO, our public information.
Okay,
officer.
so online, up on the streets, but not necessarily house to house.
Correct.
Got it.
I just had, in the history of the RPP, there was another instance like this where the people, I think it was Duclos, people either on Duclos wanted to park on Manitou or Manitou wanted to park on Duclos. And that was a pretty controversial thing with people opposed to that kind of thing. Is there any reason why Minnehaha and Ute Trail can just have their own RPP? I assume the 5 to 6 people were from Manitou Avenue.
So it was, I believe 2 from Manitou, and I believe the rest were from Minnehaha.
And so there was opposition from these people, residents.
And again, they can be their own RPP. But when you separate RPPs, there is general tension there. And we've experienced this in areas like the Waltham RPP, for example.
Yes.
They had pushed hard to have their own RPP. They did not want to share one with Manitou Avenue. And so, but what that creates is people that primarily use and frankly have access to Waltham from Manitou Avenue, and they simply have a Manitou Avenue address. They were barred from being able to park on Waltham. And when I don't wish to introduce that kind of tension in the area the use case isn't as large here, but there are a couple of residents that are at the bottom of Ute Trail and Minnehaha that right now have the flexibility to use both. And with how prevalent visitor parking activity on Manitou Avenue currently is, not having the flexibility to use the surrounding parking that makes sense for them, it could create some tension. And so based off of what's currently provided in the resident program, addressing those overflow parking needs is important.
Okay, I find this fascinating. What we heard last month was the results of the resident survey within Minnehaha and Ute itself. And I understand that the support was basically unanimous at that time. We've now had this public meeting and we've heard opposition coming both from Manitou Ave residents and residents on Minnehaha and Ute. So that surprises me a little. Interested to hear about that. I'm getting ready to open up for some public comment here. And I see Carl's got his hand up.
Is it possible to clarify? So I'm looking at the map on page 31 of the packet showing the Minnehaha Ute roadways. And so if I'm counting right, and I counted quickly, there's 20 resident parking spaces that we're proposing. Do we know how many residents don't have off-street parking in that space? And really trying to gauge how many people in that area would spill over to Manitou, right? If there's 20 spaces and, 25 residents, is it really just 5 vehicles that would be spilling over? I mean, and the question of where are they parking today if there is spillover, but have we done that analysis at all, or is that data available?
So majority of the residents in that area do not have off-street parking. And this map does show off-street parking kind of listed here. So these grayed out areas are kind of notations on driveways. It's still something that is being improved upon. I think there's a couple areas that are off-street that may not necessarily be notated on this map, so there may be some opportunities for improvement there, but it does, there is a large amount, majority amount of residents in the area that do not have access to off-street.
And this process was initiated by the residents of this area who petitioned for it to be considered.
Correct.
I'm just gonna go to Rolf. I see Rolf's got his hand up here.
Yeah, so the RPP on Manitou Avenue is very well used as it is. So those residents, I know very vividly, personally, that those places are filled up a lot of the time. So you're going to be adding more problems to those people, and it wasn't their problem to begin with. So I don't, as right now, I don't think I like this idea of putting those residents down on Manitou Avenue on top of other residents and all trying to get the same spot.
Right, so it would be spillover, right? Like James said, probably everybody wants to park in front of their house normally, but if they're not able, then they would be able to park on Manitou Ave. And what I heard was a potentially mitigating proposal was to convert some mixed use into residential only. So that would increase the residential only parking also on the avenue.
And that would be a great idea to do that. And it is taking away parking, but that would work. But the current RPP on Manitou Avenue is already pretty much filled. We could do some drive-bys and see, but I know that is every night that is completely filled with residents, and they're all jockeying around to get a spot, and it's not in front of their houses either usually. So I'm just saying I don't want to create more of a problem for them that they did not cause for people who do not have parking spaces currently.
Okay, I think that's fair. And I'll say for the record, I also have spoken to some neighbors that live down there and had a similar concern. So I like the idea that there may be a mitigating proposal. At this time, we will invite some input, and we've got some attendees here that have been waiting patiently and I think are interested to speak on this. So I'll ask you to go ahead, introduce yourselves and state your name and address. And if possible, please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And we'll make sure that you got a chance to speak fairly.
Thank you. So we came to the meeting Monday night, and
Your address.
Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Linda Moreland, 37 Minnehaha, and also 41 Minnehaha. Robert Moreland.
Robert Moreland, 37 Minnehaha, 41 Minnehaha. We all have problems.
So first I want to address the fact that I didn't know anything about this survey last month. That we didn't know anything until we spoke to Felipe this last week. We knew nothing. And as far as I know, nobody else did either.
Okay, that's good feedback. I mean, I think the process for the RPP is that I thought there was to be a mail out to the people that live in this area. So
Correct. And
is it
that
possible
was
you got
valid.
myth?
We do have the list of the people that signed the petition to initiate this. That's what we presented last time. That's what we got brought up. That's what initiated this to begin with. So that's how we started that.
So we knew nothing about it, and as far as I know, my husband talked to like 5 different neighbors. No, nobody knew on Minnehaha. I know that Ute, there were people, and we found this out at the meeting Monday night, but we were unaware of this until I ran into Felipe on the street the day they were posting. So I'm a little confused as to what exactly is going on now.
James, do you want to speak to how this process started? You were
Yeah, so the process began, there was a resident on Ute Trail that had reached out with interest in starting a resident parking program for Ute Trail in Minnehaha. And she had more or less taken upon herself to go through and collect the signatures. And so she's gone through, provided the signatures, and due to turnover, the program didn't move forward. And so there was a request to regather signatures, at which point our department went through and regathered signatures. And
that was prior to my time and when was that regathering?
so I want to say it was early 2025.
So what we heard Monday night is that these were residents on Ute Trail. And all the residents, including us that we spoke to in Minnehaha, knew nothing about this.
So we've got signatures for both Ute Trail and Minnehaha.
All the
But there
people-
are signatures that it seemed like there were many households that there was no response from. So we did get some, but it doesn't seem like all people. I mean, this residence is saying they didn't receive notice.
And those residents, we did document multiple attempts at different times of the day. So at that point, we do have to just move on at that point. I know there's some houses up there that are unoccupied, but
So let me just clarify the process here. So there was a petition that started this, and then that gets given to staff, and then staff goes out and tries to contact all of the people that might be affected in this area. And so we've documented attempts to contact them. What I'm hearing is you didn't hear about it and some of your neighbors didn't.
Many of our neighbors did not hear about this. We have new neighbors in the area that have just moved in
Okay.
this year. I understand the people on Ute have an extreme problem. They're close to the avenue. They get a lot of flow from the avenue coming up their way, and they don't have enough parking even for the residents that they have. Upper or western Minnehaha is a different situation. There is a little bit more space up there. We do share that space with people on Ute. They talk to us and say, hey, can we park close to your property? And that is a common thing. The problems we have on upper Minnehaha come from non-enforcement of the normal rules that are supposed to apply in residents, parking for a long period of time, having trailers and stuff parked for a long period of time, never moving, and also people parking on the wrong side of the road in the non-parking areas that already are there, not being enforced. That is the situations we already have, the city not enforcing what we have. If they enforce the normal rules of no parking areas near fire hydrants or in narrow areas, those are the problems we have on western Minnehaha. Has nothing to do with a RPB or whatever you call your district.
Mhm.
The parking on the avenue would help those people on Ute. The problems that you have from tourists coming up They don't normally come up that far into Manitou. Not saying that in the future they will start to come up that far. It's rare that we get people up there that far up. And so most of the neighbors that I spoke to personally had not heard about this and did not know this was taking place.
Yeah, so I don't understand how, if it happened numerous times, how there are at least 6 of us on Minnehaha that never heard anything about it. And there aren't that many, so I mean, that's maybe at the lower end of Minnehaha, maybe a couple of people, but why didn't we get it? And you're saying we reached out numerous times. That doesn't make sense.
And we pay attention to our mail.
Yeah, I mean,
And
to
would
the
there
mail, to
normally
the
be-
doorknobs, I go online, which a lot of people don't, but I do.
Do we do door hangers or anything like that, or is it just
Uh-uh.
walk up, knock on the door?
It's normally door to door. It's not something we traditionally do through the mail or through door hangers. It's more or less we have staff going to every household and attempting to get signatures. And if we don't get contact with somebody, we go back another day, a different time, and we document the times and days that we go there. And if we just aren't able to make contact with that resident, we have to go off of the data set that we were able to gather. And if that's the majority of the residents, then traditionally we move forward.
Okay, Carl?
So Linda, I'd be curious, are you guys opposed to the RPP? I mean, I understand that you weren't notified and that's definitely something that is bad and we need to rectify it, but just the RPP itself, are you opposed to it? And this follow-up, if there were an RPP just for the lower section, would you be concerned then that during special events that people would be parking up on Minnehaha? Because I know my experience, Crystal Park Road, special events, they park all the way up to the cantina. And so, it might just be, if we define the RPP narrowly, then you might become impacted. So just curious your thoughts and comments on that.
I understand the people down on Ute have a serious problem. I'm not going to speak for them because they are in a different boat than we are. But on our side of the street on the western side of Minnehaha, we don't have that problem and are not interested in becoming RPP.
So again, I find it really, I believe that you tried to reach out, but until Felipe and his partner were on the street last week, I never heard anything or saw anything. And I'm pretty much home every day. The people across the street, they've been there since the 50s. They're home every day. 2 ladies down the street, 3 ladies. We're all retired. We're home every day. So I don't know how that happened, that none of us got the information. And then he mentioned above us, there's a gentleman that lives on the opposite side of the street who parks trailers, trucks, boats, and takes up like maybe 5 spaces, most of the time, across the street from his property. And he has a garage and a driveway that he doesn't use. So it's a mixture of issues, obviously. And again, I agree, Ute has the problem. We have friends and neighbors that live on Ute that come up and say, we're going to have neighbors, we're going to have a party, we're going to have a birthday, we have family coming. Can we come and park, in front of your property, on your property? And we were like, yeah, because we know they don't have enough parking. So again,
Today they can do that and they don't need to ask you.
That's correct.
well,
Well, it's a
on our
courtesy.
property.
It's a courtesy.
It's a courtesy
Yeah.
of the neighborhood.
Right.
Everybody takes care, everyone watches everybody else's vehicle. We
I mean-
watch who's in the neighborhood.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there are spaces on Minnehaha that are non-residential. But I'm talking about, they come to us and our neighbors who we have our own parking, off-street parking, and they ask us, can we park in your spaces temporarily for an event? So there's two different
Okay.
issues going on there.
So, if I can summarize what I'm hearing, you weren't aware that this proposal was moving forward, and you don't see a need for it where you live, and therefore you would be opposed to it because you see that it's you're just not interested in it.
I think it has the potential of infringing on us in our area in ways for what we already use our parking for our guests without having to have permission from the city to park. The people down below, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna speak for them. The Ute Avenue and right down at the base of Minnehaha, they have a different situation.
Sure.
I'm saying the upper part from where Ute connects in and above is a different thing. And like I said, all of us up there had no information about this taking place. And
He went door to door and talked to all these people when we found out about Monday night's
asked if
meeting.
they were coming, they said, well, what you're talking about. I said, well, the signs, oh, well, no, I hadn't heard about this. So
Okay.
again, that besides, whoever did the survey, if it happened a year ago or whatever, the information's not there from our neighborhood. But down below, I do understand they have a problem. Maybe they need to fix it down there. I'm just saying that the western side of Minnehaha is not really part of that group.
Okay, well, I'll make the observation, I'm not sure which way what we're gonna do here, so we'll be talking about this, try to find a solution. If we were to slice this thing in half and say, we're only gonna consider adding the lower part, like basically up to where Ute meets Minnehaha, if that were included in the RPP on Manitou Ave and the upper part weren't, my expectation is that would have impacts on you. I think you would start to see more people. And as visitation increases, people start to realize, oh, hey, you know what? I can drive up a little bit further and park for free. You would start to see a lot more people parking near where you live.
And like I said, most of the issues that we have up that far are things the city should be taking care of already, like people parking in no parking areas.
Okay. And I will make the point that the parking department does have a phone number that you can call, and
They are called and they do nothing about it.
Okay.
For years.
This has been going on for 30 years, so.
Okay. Well, we
It's-
got a new sheriff in town, so we do have a capability of responding when there are when there are parking complaints. So if you're seeing illegal parking, I would encourage you to call it in, and I think you might see some results on that.
The issue in our area, we have an area in front of our house where there were no parking signs. The previous owner of the property, it's basically a abandoned property, when they had people living there, they removed those signs. So part of those signs are no longer there. They were there. They no longer are there.
And then when I brought this up to the city, they put the signs back up and then somebody else removed them again. So people go and remove the no parking signs because then it's an issue for them to find a place to park.
And
If I may, on the signs, if we do go back and put something, we're taking inventory of everything via GIS. So anything that we're putting out there, we're keeping track of. So that way, if things disappeared, we will know about that. So that there is something new on that front.
That's new, yeah, okay. Good, because this, like he said, we're talking 30 years here, and we're talking about different people owning different properties, and then when it changes, then, people just go remove the signs.
yeah, and so that is there are, I see on the map here, there are some designated no parking, and that's probably due to width.
That is correct. That's a safety issue for emergency vehicles. And we do intend, regardless RPP or not, we are going to go back and repaint all of those spots that need to be rekindled. So-
Okay, and are you able to back up what I said, that if we see illegal
Yes.
parking, the parking department is able to be responsive to that, so I'd encourage
Yeah.
you to consider that.
Yes, our phone number is 685-2600. Just give us a call. There's a chance.
And I just thought of something we were talking about Monday night. You were talking about painting the curbs red. And somebody said, well, there aren't any curbs. There aren't any curbs. There are just no parking signs going with the arrow going this way, but there's no curb to paint.
Okay, I see we've got another comment here and we are accepting public comment here. So we've got a David C. who's got his hand up. There you should.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay. It's my first Zoom city meeting, so gosh, thanks for all you guys do. This is a long process. I'm David Corpenning. I own the property at 1107, 1109 Manitou Avenue. It has 4 residential and 4 commercial units. I was actually the original petitioner for the Manitou Avenue RPP, and I think that was 2017. So I have a really thick file folder here with history and everything. But a couple things. One is James has mentioned, I was at the meeting Monday night as well. And James mentioned that some of the issue with this had to do with Rainbow Falls, had a unusual, I guess, situation, and some people were parking on Minnehaha and Ute during that, but that has been resolved. And so I would suggest maybe seeing how that impact is. That was a pretty significant thing, and now it apparently is not an issue because they have reservations and shuttles and all that. So I would factor that in to this issue. The other thing is that I think that it was suggested that mostly that there is enough parking spaces for the current Ute and Minnehaha residents, so clarification on that. And that the only issue had to do with the guest parking, but I'm curious, I'd like to maybe a survey can be done. The Manitou RPP has been around for 8 years, so where have the guests of that area, Ute and Minnehaha, been parking for the last 8 years? So I'm just kind of curious, and I think it would be helpful to know why now it's an issue and it hasn't been for the last 8 years. Somehow they have found places to park.
You're talking about guests of people that are visiting residents on Ute and Lower Minnehaha.
Right. Well, somehow, both the residents and their guests have been able to find parking for the last 8 years because they haven't been able to park on Manitou Avenue. And I'd like to know what they've been doing, how it's been working for 8 years. It's been at least 8 years with the RPP.
Yeah. Well, I think what often happens is it isn't working, and that's why we get a request like this.
Right, but it was working. How they've been doing it? I mean, right now, where are they parking? They've been parking, doing something for 8 years. I understand they want to maybe improve their situation, but what have they been doing? It's kind of like what Rob was saying, that there is people work with each other as in finding parking spaces. I mean, I have lived in town and had that similar, I had to work out arrangements with my neighbors as to where to park. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I have another couple questions, but.
And do you have an opinion one way or another on the proposal?
Yeah, I totally support them having their own RPP. And it sounds as if, based upon Rob and Linda, that I think it's probably more of a lower Minnehaha and Ute Trail RPP. I 100% support that if they want to make that happen. I have concerns, Rolf brought it up right off the get-go. I get down there quite often. I was there Sunday for about 4 hours on Manitou Avenue. And there were times when there was no parking available on the south side. I'm going to call Manitou south side, north side. There wasn't any parking. So I know when we established that RPP, we had all the numbers and all the different units and then factored in all the guest passes, and it felt like it was going to be close. And it seems as though that has stayed that way. So adding more cars to that area, to the RPP, I would prefer that not to happen. And I don't understand exactly what I hear about the guests needing a place, but I'm curious what they've been doing about that for the last 8 years.
Okay, so if I hear you right, you're supportive of there being an RPP formed, but not necessarily supportive of it being included into the existing Manitou Avenue RPP.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Linda, did you want to make another comment?
Well, I can answer his question. There are at least 5 illegal parking spaces that I know of. There may be more, but I know there are 5 that people use daily. That's why for the last 8 years, because nobody's doing anything about it, even though, and I'm not the only one that calls, numerous people call and say, these people are parked illegally and some of them are in dangerous areas and nothing's been done. So yeah, that's the answer, David. There are at least 5 spots that I know of exactly where they are that have been used illegally all these years.
Okay. Well, if that is the case, Linda, and it sounds like that does cause a problem for you and others, then I would go to the other thing that we talked about at the meeting, that convert those mixed uses on the north side of Manitou Avenue, but only into residential RPP only, but only allow the Ute Minnehaha to use that for guests only. And I think Philippe said that you could have that distinction that they wouldn't be a resident. As a resident, they couldn't park there, but they could have their guests park there. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Well, I could support that if that's what Linda's saying, that in fact the guests are causing problems up there for other residents. Then if we could convert those downtown, and I don't think we need those as mixed because there's a Schmishny lot there for tourists. And I think it was already stated, I think Luke made a very good comment. We're trying to keep people, when they come into Manitou from the east, they park there and shuttle into town. We don't want to have cars driving all the way to the west side to find a parking spot. So these parking spots, I think, would be in the best interest of the community to revert to residential.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I think at this point, I would invite a response from staff. I am hearing some discomfort with the proposal, and I don't have a clear view of what we should do here, and I'm wondering if staff's got any ideas that we might want to consider here.
Yes, and actually, I think this is good that we had this conversation, and you folks took the time to be here, and the last time as well, and I've encountered you on the street and engaged with you guys as well. This RPP request came, as James mentioned, on January of 2025, a year and a few months ago. Some of the people that signed might not even live there anymore. I believe that's outdated information that needs to be regathered, and we need to re-engage with the community as far as what the needs are. That's what I gathered from this meeting and the past meeting and our interactions in the street. So I want to make sure we follow due diligence. I want to make sure we follow the process. I want to make sure that we are talking one-on-one with residents. And if that entails restarting the process, ensuring that everybody gets notified, that everybody has their point of view discussed internally, and then on these types of settings, I think there's going to be a little more clarity moving forward. So I don't believe we're at a point right now where we can move forward with this RPP based on the information we gathered for the last 2 weeks.
Well, thank you, because again, if I hadn't run into you on the street, we wouldn't have known about Monday or tonight.
Big sign.
Well, yeah,
But that was.
but that was after I talked to you. And you said we're going to be posting signs. And then other people saw the signs, including, people up on Duncan and Mesa. They were like, wait a minute, how far is this going to go? So we weren't the only ones that were unaware.
Absolutely. And awareness is very important. We'd like to make sure that there's ample time to digest the information and that we get feedback before moving forward. Also, I don't know if this is an opportunity for us to reconsider our current process and revisit our standards for timelines on things. So if 2 years or 3 years don't pass by and then, things get brought up a little more current, because if this would have been gathered last month, everybody would be on the same page. And I think that the city could do better responding to these requests in a timely manner.
Thank you.
Philippe, I would support also, could you, like, I only knew about it because I happened to be down there on Sunday and saw the signs. Can you also actually do notification of the people in the Manitou Avenue RPP?
Absolutely, David. And that we
Okay.
intend to do right.
Cool, great, thanks.
Okay, I think with that, yeah, I'll say thank you very much to everyone who was able to join us. We were able to gather some more information. So we're gonna go back and regroup and see if we can do some more outreach. The Rainbow Falls thing may have changed things. Oh, this is what I was thinking. Do we have contact with the original applicant so that we
Yes.
can? So yeah, okay. So I think that will be really important to help understand the need better as it was originally proposed. So I think we're gonna try to regroup and try to collect some more information so that we can consider this more. Carl, do you have a comment?
Yeah, two quick comments. So first, thank you for everyone that sat through our meeting, as dry and boring as it probably feels like, and gave public comment. That's really, really important, and I appreciate taking the time. So
Well,
thank you.
We thank you. And the reason I asked us to come forward earlier is because he gets up at 3:45 in the morning, and it was the last thing on the agenda. So thank you guys for listening and hearing us, and not just us. We just happened to be the only two that showed up. So
And then the second comment, clarification from staff. If people do have parking concerns, is it more effective to call the parking department, or is it better to do a see-click fix where you have a photo with a license plate number and, better tracking potentially?
So we do have a parking hotline, and that's active. Feel free. People do use it, and they do call us. Hey, somebody's parked here in front of my house, or whatever it is the issue, and we do respond to those in a timely manner. Everything's 10 minutes away in this town, so.
I've done photos, I've sent photos, I made phone calls and of licenses, and it's never mattered. It just doesn't matter.
Felipe, can you remind us of that number? 685
685-2600, option 2 for enforcement.
685-2600, option 2.
Yes.
Please give us another try.
Thanks.
Thank you both. Thank you all.
Okay, I think we're gonna move on from that item. And I'm gonna try to get us,
And Corey, I'm gonna have to leave. I have an appointment, so
okay,
trying to stay longer, but it's
yeah,
late, and I had made appointments in 7:19, so I need to go.
fair enough.
Okay.
I think that's very reasonable. I think we're getting close to finishing here, so
Good.
thank you for your time, Joy.
Well, thanks, Corey, for the meeting.
So I'm looking at the agenda. We did have. So the map board presentations, I think we can go through. Really, we don't have anything to say under board presentations. We are not going to vote. Gosh, point of process here. Do we need to vote on this? I think we're declining. I think we don't have a motion, so we're not gonna vote on this.
I mean, given staff asked to retract and get more data, I don't think we should vote.
Okay. Well, unless there is an objection, I'm going to table all of the rest of the updates. There was an update here on parking kiosks. And Felipe has just stepped out of the room.
I can just give you a quick tidbit on that. There's not much to provide on that front. Last update we had from Blink A is they were just waiting on a few parts to go in the kiosk that we've ordered. And then once they get those fitted, plan is to get those shipped, and then they are gonna have staff come on site and get those installed.
Okay, and do you need anything from this board?
No, nothing at this time.
Okay,
Question about parking kiosks. Recently, I've come aware of an issue where there was an elderly couple looking for parking, and they went through the entire process of having to get the app and download the app and sign up for just about everything. And it was on behalf of a resident that helped them through this process of purchasing the parking. And it was a very difficult process for them. And how does somebody park if they don't have a smartphone?
Yeah, so the way that we're addressing that right now is we are available by phone. So if someone were to call into the parking office, we can take payment over the phone for their parking.
Is that on the any of the signage?
So that's something that we are going to improve upon as well, but it's not currently, no.
And I think the big thing there is just accessibility for everybody involved. And
Yes.
particularly for our seniors.
Yeah, and that's why the kiosks are a priority for us.
Thank you.
okay. I think we are at the end of our agenda. I will give an opportunity for any other board correspondence. And hearing none,
I just again, and I'll just say it continuously, is I want to go on record showing that I'd like to see free parking on Manitou Avenue between the months of November through April time period to support small business.
thanks for that, Luke. And I guess, especially given that you brought it up last month and again this month, I think what we ought to do is look at how we could frame that request. Maybe it's not free and maybe it's not these months specifically, but what I'm hearing is a desire to more incentivize visitation to our small businesses by adjusting the parking seasonally.
Yeah, that's a really nice way to say that, but also I like the idea of making it extremely obvious and getting forgetting the politically correct way to say it and just say, hey, free parking. And so there's a reason I kind of like the idea behind that. And I think that in the summer months, when there's a capacity issue, right, and we're restrained by a lot of different things, it makes sense to charge for parking. It makes sense to do progressive parking. But when there is nobody in town and our downtown businesses are struggling, to be able to go out and say free parking downtown Manitou for, there's small business Saturday, there's all these shop local, there's a lot of incentives along the way. And I think a thing that we could do, particularly when capacity isn't an issue and there is plenty of parking to be had, to have that parking available for free and intentionally say it's free to get away from the stipulation that misconception that the parking is always such a big problem. I mean, right? I mean, if you look at anywhere, any news agency, look at KRDO, Manitou is a laughing stock for the problem of parking, right? And I don't think that's a reality. I think especially in the wintertime. So that's why I'm thinking it's a good idea to just open up free parking in Manitou in the winter months. It's slow. We need the business. And get people past this misconception of parking is always a problem in Manitou, because it's not. I really don't think that that's always the case.
Go ahead, Felipe.
Those are great points, Luke. And to incentivize people is our goal, right? One thing that we've noticed and that we're tracking is actual occupancy during those shoulder months as well, right? And, you know, which is part of the incentive, 2 hours for free for a couple of months and things of that nature. And also, Dylan, I wonder if there's something that we can start communicating and talking with the board, you know, about abilities for us to enable these businesses, you know, it may be a topic for a different discussion, but enabling businesses to have maybe discounted codes or based on patronage and things of that nature, and enable business to be in charge of those incentives through the city. So those are things that we are considering as an intermediate step, you know, to start gathering information and incentivizing people. So I am open to any suggestions and ideas you and others may bring, but our north is for the support of our business residents and visitors.
Thanks for that. Last call for any other comments. I will just say, I am aware that there was a group, actually, Carl and Luke and myself and some others, that were able to participate in a Safer Streets lobbying day up in the Denver Capitol. That was last month. And so I just want to recognize and applaud and encourage the engagement that some of our members have in being involved with those efforts. So it was a pleasure to join you guys for that and try to work for some safer streets at the state level. And just really appreciate your commitment to that effort. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well, if you're going to talk about advocacy, I will mention that the National Bike Summit is going on this week. Joan and I are attending virtually. Though today was the National Lobby Day for folks in attendance. And obviously, you know, the ask from the league, you don't have to be there to advocate for that. So if you're interested in at the federal level doing some advocacy, feel free to reach out to me and we can try and connect you on that. And with that, I'll move that we adjourn.
Thank you. Second.
I will second.
Thank you. Any opposition to adjourning? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.